Hello to the second lesson in our information literacy series. This lesson is on plagiarism and citation. We want to start this lesson by talking about academic honesty, and we're going to look at Arlington Baptist College's mission statement. The mission statement says, Arlington Baptist College endeavors to prepare men and women for Christian life and ministries, both lay and professional, through studies in Bible, general education, church vocations, and practical service, integrating faith and learning in the context of a Christian worldview. We want to keep that in mind while we're studying at Arlington Baptist College, that not only are we learning academically, but that we're integrating our faith into this process. And the Bible says in Colossians 3:23, "And whatever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men." So we want to remember that while we're studying here at the college, that we want to study as unto the Lord, and that includes our academic integrity. Next, we're going to look at an excerpt from the Arlington Baptist College Student Handbook. And this says, all students are expected to understand the concept of academic honesty. Academic dishonesty includes but is not limited to the following: turning in work done by another person as if it was your personal work, copying another student's homework, paper, test, or assignment, copying from a source, books, internet, etc., and not giving credit to the source, working together with one or more persons on an assignment that is intended to be done by you alone, copying or attempting to copy answers from the test of another student, using notes, materials, or assistance on a test when the instructor has not given clear permission for their use, communicating with another student during a test, quiz, or exam, and assisting or allowing someone to copy your work without the instructor's clear permission to do so. One area of academic dishonesty that is very prevalent in colleges today is plagiarism. So we're going to look at plagiarism, what it is, and how we can prevent plagiarism from happening in our coursework. First off, we're going to look at the definition of plagiarism. Dictionary.com defines it as an act or instance of using or closely imitating the language and thoughts of another author without authorization and the representation of that author's work as one's own, as by not crediting the original author. A simpler definition is theft, and one student said, taking something that isn't yours and making it yours. And that seems to be a very clear, simple definition of plagiarism. Some of the consequences of plagiarism are an F on your paper, fail your class, dismissal or failure to graduate. You may have your degree revoked. You may have to go to court. You can ruin your future job prospects, and there's also shame and embarrassment. Let's look at some examples to determine whether they're plagiarism or not. This first example, we have at the top of the slide the original source, and the original source says, library literature offers wide spectrum coverage on planning and moving libraries. We're just going to look at the first sentence. When we look at the first example, we can see that this example is copied word for word from the original source, but it has not been cited in any way. So this first example is an example of plagiarism, and you cannot use someone else's words or ideas without giving them the appropriate attribution. Let's look at example number 2. We are using the same original source. When we look at the second example, we notice that it is copied word for word, but it has quotation marks around it, and it's also cited at the end of that paragraph with Burkhart 1998. This is an appropriate citation. This is not considered plagiarism because you have given attribution to the original author. Now let's look at the third example. The first sentence of example 3 says, library literature offers much information on planning and moving libraries. Well, it's almost exactly word for word what the original source is, but they've changed the word wide spectrum to the words much information. This is an example of plagiarism because even though it's cited, it's too close to the original to be considered paraphrase. So if you were going to use this example, it would be better to go ahead and put the quotation marks in and use the original source as a direct quote. Now let's look at our last example. We're going to look at the example. It says, moving into a new library takes much planning and forethought. And the rest of the paragraph goes on, and it is attributed at the bottom, cited to Burkhart 1998. If we look at the original source, it's the same idea as Burckhardt's original source, but it's completely worded in a different manner. And this is an example of paraphrase. Paraphrase is completely acceptable as long as you cite the original source or the original idea at the end of the paraphrase that you're writing. So this is an acceptable way of rewording Burckhardt's thought into your own words and adding it to your paper. To prevent plagiarism, there's several things we can do. First off, we need to make sure that we cite all the resources that we used. No matter how insignificant they may seem, you need to cite them. And it's better to go ahead and oversight than to forget to cite something and get a 0 on your paper for plagiarism. Because even if you forget to cite it, it's still considered plagiarism and still has the consequences of plagiarism that we talked about earlier. You can also use the when to cite diagram that is provided in this lesson. When we look at it, it says, did you think of it? If you didn't think of it, you need to cite it. If you did think of it and it's your own original thought, you do not need to cite. Then you want to think, is it common knowledge? If it's not common knowledge, you need to cite it. And if it is common knowledge, you don't need to cite it. The second part of the diagram looks at another person's words. Is this another person's words? If the answer is yes, not only do you need to cite it, but you also need to put quotation marks around it. If it's not another person's words, is it another person's ideas? If it is another person's ideas, you need to cite it. And if not, and it is your own original idea, you do not need to cite. We mentioned in the when to cite diagram common knowledge, and so we need to figure out what is common knowledge. You don't have to cite some things because they're common knowledge and are not considered the work of any particular person. Generally, these are facts like there are 4 seasons in a year or there are 365 days in a year. Common knowledge is something that can be located among many different sources, like 365 days in the year. You can find that on the internet, in books, almanacs, dictionaries. So that is something that's considered common knowledge. It's very important that if you're not sure whether something is common knowledge or not, go ahead and provide a reference for it. Another way to prevent plagiarism is to consult citation tools for proper citation. The Earl K. Oldham Library has writing guides for all the major writing styles. Your professors may ask you to use one of the following writing styles when doing your coursework at Arlington Baptist College: APA, MLA, Chicago style, or Turabian. And all of these styles have manuals, and you can find those at the library. Be sure to ask one of the librarians for help if you need assistance in citation. Let's review again all the ways that you can prevent plagiarism. Cite all the resources you used. Use the when to cite diagram. Consult citation tools for proper citation, and you can also check your work through a website like paperrater.com. Paperrater.com is a very good resource for you to use while you're doing your work here at Arlington Baptist College. It's a completely free website that's maintained by linguistics professors and graduate students. What I really like about Paperrater is that you don't have to download anything to your computer. All you do is go to the site, copy and paste from your Word into Paperrater, and it will give you a grammar check, spell check. It'll check your word usage, but you can also do a plagiarism checker and see if you have any plagiarism in your paper. This will help you prevent possibly accidentally not citing something. So I really recommend that you go to that website, take a look at it, and use it in the future. Again, if you have any questions about plagiarism, citation, anything at all that we can help you with here at the Earl K. Oldham Library, we are happy to do so. So stop by the library, or you can call us at 817-461-8741, extension 127, or you can email us at helpdesk@arlingtonbaptistcollege.edu. I hope this lesson has been helpful for you as you begin your studies here at Arlington Baptist College.